This is Andy Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted to be joined by Carl Greaves over Zoom. Carl, how are you?
Oh, good, Andy. Thank you, mate. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. It's good to catch up. We haven't had a chance to speak since David's brilliant win a couple of weeks ago. Just take me back to that night, Carl. Everything fell into place for you guys. A brilliant performance from David, sixth round stoppage victory. Just reflect on the win and the experience.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. What an experience, what an occasion, and what a night. I mean, everything that we said as a team, myself, Neil, we all knew what was going to happen, and it happened. David was fantastic on the night, did everything we asked of him, stuck to the game plan, and got the result.
I mean, it was very easy for everybody watching to see how you guys were approaching the fight, but just kind of going back to it, can you break down how you actually imagined the fight playing out?
Yeah, I always thought that Kelly would start very well. I mean, listen, he's got a fantastic amateur pedigree, former Olympian, doing very, very well as a pro. But I just knew that he wouldn't be able to keep David off. I mean, when David got to him sooner than expected, to be honest. I thought it'd take a bit longer, but once David got a grip of him in that fifth round, I mean, he took him out in the sixth. It was sooner than we expected. But yeah, I mean, like I said, the game plan, David stuck to it. We knew that he just had to keep tight early doors. I know he got caught in the second round with a good left hook. It probably looked a far worse shot than what it was. I spoke to David. He said he never really troubled him. But if you look closely at that, when Kelly came in to finish him, David hit him with a lovely right hand, counter right hand. And I think it put Kelly back on his heels a bit, you know what I mean? And he started holding. So he went for the finish and realised he couldn't do it. And then as the time went on, David just wore him down gradually. We started working on the body. We went from head to body and then back up to the head, and it worked a treat. So, yeah, over the moon with it.
Carl, there was some period in the fight, must have been around the third or the fourth round, when Josh seemed to kind of, like he was egging David on to try to put more pressure on him, throw more punches effectively. What did you make of that in that moment?
I mean, once Kelly realised he couldn't keep David off, if you look closely at the fight, he's tried to meet David head on and close the gap and fight inside, but that was his undoing. That was when David started getting them nice little push body shots through the middle and them short little hooks and uppercuts. And that was the start of the end for Kelly, really. I mean, he probably should have just kept to the long distance, keeping it long as long as he could, but he just couldn't keep David off. And then when he realised, he tried changing his game plan, and that failed. And obviously the finish ended in the sixth round.
Heading into the fight, Carl, there was a lot of people wondering who the extended kind of break from when the fight was initially made a couple of years ago to it happening a couple of weeks ago would benefit more, and people kind of edged towards Josh. They thought the fresher, the younger guy would bear the fruits of having a delayed fight. What did you make of it? Was you surprised at all by just how comfortable David still looked in the ring and just how good a performance he was able to produce?
Yeah, well, I knew it was never going to affect David because he's never out of the gym. I mean, he has the odd week off here and there, but he's in the gym all year round. He's a true professional. He don't let himself balloon up in weight. He's always no more than probably a stone, 18-pound overweight. So that's his sort of like the way he is. And I knew it would never affect David. I mean, and I knew that obviously with a delay from March that Josh went away and he put a lot of weight on, and he had to get a lot of weight off to get ready for this fight. And I knew it would affect him more than David. So I was always confident. And I mean, people are thinking with Josh's style that it probably would have suited him better. But I just knew that I was always believed in David, and always knew he always had Josh's number, and I always knew that. And I was very, very confident all the way through. Never had one doubt in my mind that David wouldn't beat him. I've seen it time and time again. All these top boys, they can give David trouble for a certain length of time, but he will find a way and he will get to you.
Carl, in terms of what's up next, people have been saying over social media they'd love to see David get a crack at a world title, and then you've got the other names like Daniel Yeleussinov being mentioned once again. I spoke to Eddie last week. Eddie said he'd love to see David challenge for a world title. Just your thoughts on kind of what do you see the path being now for David?
I think he deserves a world title fight. I mean, he's proved he's the best in Europe. What's he had now? 3 defences. He's stopped his last 4. All inside 10 rounds. So he definitely deserves another world title fight. Whether Eddie can make that happen, I mean, obviously Neil Marsh is David's manager. They'll sit down and they'll discuss a plan and a route to get him there. Whether it'll have to be a world title eliminator before that, or hopefully Eddie can get him a straight crack at a world title, we'll see. But there's plenty of options there for David now. I mean, he's number 5 across the board in all the organisations. He's boxing very, very well. He's a completely different fighter from the days when he was fighting Kowalski and Peterson, as you can see in his performances. And he's got that bit between his teeth now. He's an hungry fighter. He's got children and he's got something to fight for now. And the difference I've seen in him since the defeat to Kowalski has been remarkable, really. A lot of people was writing him off. He went over to Bilbao to fight Kerman, Ladraga, and nobody would give him a chance. He proved everybody wrong. A lot of people thought that Josh Kelly had David's number. I always believed in David, and Neil did, and we took the fight, accepted it, and so we'll see. But I really believe and think he should get another world title fight.
Current title holders are Spence, Ugas, and obviously Terence Crawford. Just looking at that world scene, Carl, how difficult will it be to actually get a crack at a world title if you don't have to go down the route of having eliminators?
Yeah, I mean, probably the only way David would get a shot at them lads is if it's a voluntary defence for one of them fighters. Would they risk giving someone like David a voluntary? I don't know. But listen, it'd be nice for David to work himself into a mandatory position. So if Eddie can get him a world title final eliminator and he wins that, then he'll be in a better position. But I mean, I'm not worried about whoever David goes in with at that level. I mean, obviously in the past, it don't look great losing to Peterson and Kowalski, but like I said, he's a different fighter now. So he'll give any of them boys a good fight on his day. I know he would. He's filled into a proper welterweight now. He's getting in the ring a lot bigger than he was before. We always had concerns about the size of him at that level. At the elite level, he was giving a lot of weight away on the night, but I mean, although Josh Kelly was a lot bigger than David on the night, David was a proper welterweight. Never hurt him making the weight like he does a lot of these fighters. So that's where we got the confidence from as well.
I know we spoke about how you previously explored the Yeleussinov fight. Just to touch on that again, is that something you'd be interested in going back to, or would it have to be for a final eliminator at this stage?
Yeah, well, I spoke to Neil the other day. He called me and said that Yeleussinov's been mentioned again. So he's obviously been speaking to Eddie. Listen, Yeleussinov's a top level fighter, former Olympic champion, beat Kelly in the Olympics. He's doing very, very well as a pro. But listen, it's a good fight for us as well. We're the experienced out of the two. We've been at a better level as a professional. And you know yourself, just looking at Josh Kelly and David, there's a big difference between top level in the amateurs and the top level in professional. So, we'll be confident. It's a good fight. It needs to be for the right money and the right opportunity and hopefully eliminated for a world title, possibly a final eliminator. So, we're definitely up for that.
Carl, I forgot to ask you as you bring Josh back up there. The 6th round when Mattel came in, the right decision in your eyes?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Adam's an experienced trainer. He's been at a top level as a coach. He's been in some massive fights. He knew that the writing was on the wall. I mean, if you look closely at the left hook that landed before the finish, David caught him on top of the head eye. It didn't look much of a shot, but it took Josh Kelly's back legs away. And then a couple more went in, and I think Adam had the towel ready, and that come in like. So it saved him for another day. I truly believe that Josh should be moving up to 154. I think it must hurt him making welterweight. I mean, I know apparently he did the weight great, the best he's ever looked and that, but the truth's told on the night. You know what I mean? You can look amazing in the gym. You can have a great preparation. You can say this and say that. the truth's told on the night in that ring, and Josh just wasn't ready for David.
Carl, on a personal note for yourself, I've seen a lot of people kind of giving you plaudits and praising you for your role in David's kind of revival whilst you've been working together. What's it meant for you to be able to receive kind of that form of recognition? And obviously having a fighter who is in and amongst that world title bracket now and he's being mentioned on the world scene.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, it's great getting some recognition for what I've done. I mean, I set the game plan out, David stuck to it. And I'm a firm believer in you're only as good as the fighter you've got to work with. David can do a lot better things and a lot more things than the other fighters. Simple as that. He's a better fighter. So that is how it goes with me with training. I mean, we've got a good relationship. We gel well together. We work well together. We understand each other. It's been over 5 years now we've been together. And yeah, so listen, I like to take the praise, but listen, I'm never going to accept it all because David's the fighter. He's the one that's done the business, and we're over the moon with him.
Carl, whilst I've got you, just a couple quick questions. I want to get your thoughts on two fights announced recently. On the back of this weekend, Canelo beating Avanesyan. Billy Joe Saunders was announced as his next opponent in May. Just your thoughts on that fight?
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a mismatch, wasn't it? Yildirim and Canelo. We always knew that. It was just how long it was going to last. A lot of people predicted inside 6 rounds, and that's what happened. He got him out there earlier than we expected. He looked like a rabbit in the headlights, Yildirim. He just didn't look in place to be in the ring with Canelo. This is what's happening with these sort of mandatories and that. But listen, Canelo, he deserved an easy night. You know what I mean? Why not? I mean, he's one of the modern greats, isn't he? And he's got a big fight coming up with Billy Joe Saunders, so we'll see how that goes.
What do you make of that fight?
I just think that Billy will give him trouble early on. He's elusive. He's got good movement. He's a southpaw. He's got good pedigree again from the amateurs. And look how well he's doing as a pro. He's never been beat, and he rightly deserves the opportunity. But it's special in the Canelo, and I just think it'll be a matter of time before he gets a grip of Billy Joe and probably stops him late or probably beats him on points. But Billy will give him problems early on. It might even be a bit of a Josh Kelly, David Avanesyan type fight, you know what I mean? Where early doors, Billy will give Canelo problems, but I do think that Canelo will find a way.
And then the other fight, which was announced yesterday morning, or I believe it was Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez, the undisputed bout at super lightweight. Just your thoughts again on that one?
Yeah, I really fancy Josh Taylor. I mean, what a fighter he is. He's a special talent. And it's great that Britain's got Josh Kelly. Unbelievable talent. And yeah, it's a great fight for him. I think he beats Ramirez. And I hope he does because he's British in it at the end of the day and we want him to do well.
Carl, we will leave it there now. I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your day. I appreciate your time as always, and I will speak to you again soon. Thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
Thank you, Andy. Top man.